Well, good morning, everybody. Won't you come in and join me? Have a seat. Can I get you something to drink? Have coffee, tea, water, whatever you like. I'm about to start some stitching here this morning. So did you bring yours? I hope so we can stitch along together for a little while. First, before we get started though, for those of you that have been watching me, I know you know that I had some surgery on my hand. So just a heads up, this stitch along is going to be a little bit slower today because, let's see if I can get it in here. Yep, this would be my hand in a cast. I have very little use. I have some lamb's wool here because it was bothering my thumb, but that's all the use I have of my thumb, even though I can wiggle my fingers quite well, but I can't do, where is it? This, I can't pinch and hold anything because I just can't get the, where is it? I can't get the right angle. So these two fingers are becoming very strong. And the other reason it's going to go, where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Go so slow is because I have not used a needle threader in what feels like a gazillion years. And now I have to use one because threading a needle without a second thumb is quite difficult. So just bear with me. We'll get through this. I wanted to give you all that update. I will be in this cast until, I believe it's the 26th of August. So I have a week in. I have about three more weeks to go, and then this cast will come off, and I will go right from the cast removal right to physical therapy, and they will start me out on my hand exercises, and they will make me a brace. And thank heaven, the brace will only go, oh, you can't see it very well because I'm zoomed in, will only go probably to my wrist, where this cast goes, well, about 3/4 of the way up to my elbow. So it's been challenging. And even though stitching has been a bit challenging, we're still going to try. We're still going to do it because heaven forbid if I didn't have my stitching, I would probably be going Looney Tunes. So I've tried to make some adaptations or adaptations so that I can still do it. The needle threading is by far the biggest challenge, but the more I do it, the more we're getting there. It's coming along. And the other challenge, well, not that it's a challenge, it's a bit of a, I would say more of a inconvenience, is just stitching with, did I start at the wrong end? Yes, I did, but we'll put this where it needs to be. Pardon my mumbling. Oh my God. It's been such fun. It's, you know, but it's, I'm looking at it as it's a short-term inconvenience for a long-term gain. Hopefully, you know, with some therapy, my thumb is going to be back to that I won't have discomfort in it anymore. I'll be able to go back and be doing things that I couldn't do before. I mean, for example, I have this piece on my fanny frame because I can't hold a Q-snap or a hoop. So I'm hoping, really hoping that that's going to be the case, that I can do those things again after all of this is done. So we shall see. Time will tell. As I said, in the grand scheme of things, a short-term inconvenience for a long-term gain. So the other thing I'm having trouble with is this piece, which you haven't seen yet, is on 28 count, and we all know I don't like flipping my fabric or flipping my hoop. So what I'm doing these days is ending by using an away thread. If I had two hands that were functioning, I would try to do that underlining thing that I told you about a couple weeks ago. But for right now, I'm just doing away threads. It's a little easier. It's a little bit less grief and aggravation, for lack of a better way to put it. So I hope all of you are doing well. Like I said, I've said on the Facebook group, I really am fine. As a little inconvenience, but other than that, I'm fine. I'm able to stitch by compensating a little bit for things that I used to do that I am having some difficulty with right now. But you know what? We'll get through this. It's only another couple more weeks and we'll be back to good to go. So before I go too far, I would like to just welcome all the new subscribers I've gotten. I'm shocked and amazed at the number of people that have subscribed to this channel. I'm overwhelmed, and I'm very happy to be the case. I'm over 5,000 subscribers and closer to the 5,100 mark, and there have been a whole bunch of people that have come on board, subscribed, and are watching the videos thanks to Jan Hicks. And Jan, what can I say except to just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I am just so pleased and so happy that you've tried stitching on the diagonal and that you're enjoying it. It's, for me, it's just the easiest way to do it, the most sensible way to do it. Yeah, it's a lot of threading and unthreading, and we've talked about all of that before in my videos, but again, the long-term outcome I am so much more pleased with, and I'm just so pleased with the outcome of it like this. I don't get confused, I don't get lost, and you know, we've covered all those reasons and why it's so nice to do this kind of stitching. Because let me tell you, like you, Jan, if there was anything I hated the most, it was having to go back and fill in those single stitches all over the place that in the first place was like hunting, and pardon me if I'm yuxing you around here, it was like hunting for a needle in a haystack, and that's like just plain crazy. And then you had all these long threads on the back because you were traveling so far to get to that next isolated stitch, and it was just a royal, in my opinion, just a royal pain. This way just makes so much more sense. So back to what my original thought was here is, Jan, thank you. And welcome to all of you that have come here via Jan's channel. It's just blows me away, but I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to talk about diagonal stitching. I'm happy to show you how I do it and what makes sense to me, and hopefully it can make some sense to you, and we can just be one little happy group of stitchers. Okay, where am I here? Okay, I kind of forgot which one I was stitching. Okay, gotta find where to. This sometimes is the hardest part, is finding where to put it. Let me stick this one in here because there's one other thing I want to thank Jan for, and oh my God, it's like I am in heaven. It's such a game changer for when you're stitching these full coverage pieces, and that is Knit Companion. I have gone through many, well, I think I've tried about every PDF reader that you can put your cross stitch charts into to find one that I really liked. And for me, for the longest time, it's been Goodreader on my iPad. Well, actually, Goodreader is only for your iPad. So that has been my go-to app. Pardon me while I park again. For quite some time. However, yeah, this is the other thing. You're always dropping something. So I had watched Jan's videos on Knit Companion, and had downloaded and tried it just a little bit a while ago, but I was undecided if I wanted to pay the yearly charge to have this, I think, resources and setup, or it's another part that is a subscription that you needed to really give it the full functionality. And I toyed with that idea for a while. And here the other day, after I watched it one more time, I thought, you can put all your pages together as one big chart. For that, that's just a game changer. Now, in order to try doing that, I had to subscribe to the setup and something. I forget what it's called, but I wanted to say it was $15 for a year subscription. It might not have been quite that much. But really, if you're just paying that once a year, in all honesty, that is no big deal. We have all blown $15 on something somewhere along the line that we paid for it and never used it again and never gave it a second thought. You know, let's be real. That's the truth. I know I have, and I'm sure many of you out there have. So with that, it gave you, I believe, a week or so where you could test it, and if you didn't like it, you could cancel the subscription. Well, let me tell you, Jan, I'll love you forever. This has been just super. I played with it. Jan and I messaged back and forth a couple times. I now have all of my full coverage charts loaded into Knit Companion. I think I have 4 full coverage pieces going at the moment. I don't plan on starting anymore because At 68 years old, I'm going to be happy if I get just one of them finished. Because as we all know, this is not a short-term sprint in stitching. This is a long time marathon. But being able to not have to deal with flipping between pages to complete that diagonal, because it has just been the best thing since sliced bread. So Jan, I can't thank you enough. I love this program. In fact, a lot of you have heard me talk about Barb, who is the gal that I stitch with most of the time. It all depends on her schedule, which that's fine. She's a bit younger than myself, and she's still working, whereas I'm retired. I've been retired for, wow, longer than I thought. I'm 60. I just turned 68 in July. 4th of July, as a matter of fact. And I retired when I was 61 and a half. So I've been, what do I call it? Okay. So it's been quite a few years, but Barb comes to stitch with me when she can. And we are working on this piece together. Let me see if I can show it to you. There we go. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'll zoom you back in then. But it's called Timeless Elegance. Oh, maybe I need to. Oh. There we go. I don't want to zoom you out too far, or I'll mess up my setup here. And it took me a little bit of time to get this figured out, since I usually have my camera on my right hand side, because my right hand is normally always underneath. However, this time I had to put it on my left hand side because my right hand's doing this all the time, and I didn't want to always be blocking your view. So it took a little bit to set that up. However, it's a heaven and earth design. If you want to see a better picture, you can look it up on the website. It's a really cute design. It, in all honesty, reminds me of the pieces that I did many years ago, back in the 80s, that were by Barbara and Cheryl, and we talked about those before. It was Queen Street Alley, South Battery View, Sunday Morning, Church Street, and I can never remember the name of the fifth one. Iron Gate, I think, or something to that effect. And of course, I stitched cross country then, and I would cut the chart up in sections, and I would highlight one particular symbol, and I would stitch all of that, and then highlight the next symbol, and I would stitch all of that, and yeah, that's just how that went. But having this, having this program is just super fantastic. I don't have to flip between pages. I can just open up the program, start stitching where I left off, mark my stitches. Now what I did is, since a lot of you I'll get my words together here today. Since in Goodreader we could draw a straight line to mark our diagonals. If you can do that in Knit Companion, I haven't figured out, and Jan, maybe you know, or it may not even be possible to do a straight line on the diagonal. So what I did is I just, when you're in the edit mode, I just picked a color and named that diagonal, and then I picked that another color and named that done. So if it's yellow, those stitches are on the diagonal, marking my diagonal. If it's a light blue, then those are the stitches that I have completed. And there is a little button that says show all, so both colors then will show up on your iPad, and it makes it easier. The other thing that's absolutely wonderful is that it counts your stitches. So when I'm in the blue color, which I have named done, oh, where did I end that? Which one of these was that? This one. I forgot I had to do another stitch of it. Anyway, when I'm in the setup and I designate that I'm doing the done stitches, it counts them for me. So right now in the done, okay, it must redo it each time, but right now I thought it did the whole thing. Yesterday when I was, oh no wait, that was a different chart. Today when I'm in this Timeless Elegance, I've already stitched 972 stitches, and the nice thing is it's only counting the stitches in that light blue. It's not counting it counts the stitches, but it counts them under the yellow in the, let me just do this stitch here, and then I'll try and show you. There, just let me do that much, and I'm gonna move this over. Well, that was a bust. I forgot I had something on there. Oh well, we might not get back to that. So that might be all that we're stitching with. I had a cup in my bottle of water on the bottom of this stand to weight it down a little bit, and when I moved it, I dropped the cup and the bottle of water. So let's just talk about this a little bit, shall we? My middle name is Clara, as in Clara Klutz. No, really it's not, but that's what sometimes we call ourselves, or I call myself. So I'm ready to do that stitch. So as you see, it's blue, and I have my diagonals marked in yellow. Let's pull it, go out here all the way, and make it little. You can see all my pages are together. You see what I've stitched already. You see that what I have to go. But is this not fantastic? It just is phenomenal. And down at the bottom, oops, too far down. Here we go. You can see I marked 973 stitches, and that's in the done category. And if I flip it to diagonal, which is the yellow, then you can see I didn't stitch them, I just marked 44 yellow stitches to denote my diagonal. Okay, and then what I really like, the other thing that I really, really like is the fact, and I'm going to do it over here where I haven't, I'm not working so that I don't get confused. But when you're in the edit mode, and I'm going to go back to the done, all you do is tap on the block to mark the stitches that you stitched. Now, do go and visit Jan Hicks of Jan Hicks Creates on her YouTube, and I will link her in the bottom. But do go watch her videos on how to use Knit Companion for cross stitch. And that's what I did. That's how I figured a lot of it out. And you know, there's things I still need to learn and will learn. But this thing is awesome. It is fabulous. And what I really like, and what my point was going to be, is that if I mark this incorrectly, say I didn't stitch this one, I just tap on it and it takes it away. Oh my God. I don't have to find someplace else where I do a back arrow, or like in Easy PDF, you have to go out of your highlight and then hit it and then hit delete, and there's many more steps to it, as there's many more steps in a lot of the programs to get rid of them. So you just hit it, tap it to highlight it. You want to get rid of it. Oh, I didn't stitch those. So you tap it to delete. It is fan-damn-tastic. Odie, Remy, no. Okay, there's a piece of my cup down there that my cat is playing with. Gotta love your cats. So I am just thrilled. The hardest thing for me was getting the pages together. Okay, aligning all the pages so it would make one big graph. And Jan talks a little bit about it, but I'm going to go into just a little bit more, and let me here we go. Let me go to my home, and I'm going to open up this one that you haven't seen, and I'm going to go into setup. And I'm just going to show you a little bit. So if I want to put my chart pieces together, and I'm just going to show you this, what I'm going to go into being able to crop it, okay? And I have to tell it the number of rows and stitches, and page 1 is always 98 rows by 80 stitches. So you really do need to know your stitch count, and knowing your stitch count is very, very, very important, because that is part of the software that helps to align your pieces. So then the other thing I use, and I think you can see it, is down here the crop is highlighted, and next to that is a grid, and that's going to show you when you're on target with matching up your grids. What I found is, and I hope, Jan, I don't want to be stepping on your toes here. My intent is just to share a little bit of what I learned, is the bigger I make the chart, the more accurate I can crop. So that yellow is my crop line. So as you can see, I put it in the middle of that top border. Okay, then I go over here to the side, pull this in close, make this gigantically big, and do the same thing. Put it to about the middle, and again, you can see that, and you can still see, well, my yellow lines aren't in these. Well, no, they're not, because we're not aligned on the sides yet. So we're going to move over to the other side, move this in pretty close, make it giant size again, align into about the middle. And sometimes this happens. It's like my lines go away and then I just have to click on the chart thing again. But as you can see, I'm in the middle and now these are getting closer. So maybe I just need to move this one a little smidge more. I need to take these glasses off my stitching, or move it out a little smidge more and a little smidge to get it where here, there we go. It's perfectly in the center. You can see that? So then I just, because I don't like to scroll through a big one, make it smaller, get down to the bottom, pull that in close. Okay, now see how your yellow line, grid lines here are off? Well, it's because this is off. So if I move it down, it changes them, and you can see, I hope you can see that yellow line's here. If I move it up, it also changes them. So again, make it as big as you can, or you choose to, and go about halfway through the line. And see, now our grid lines match the squares, and that is your primary goal for piecing your chart together, that when you are cropping, you position these crop lines so that your grid that overlays your chart shows up correctly. Okay? So I just wanted to share that with you. And as I said, a little too far. Having it big like this gives you the greatest flexibility in getting things to be there. See how they're perfectly centered now. But that gets your, the bigger the chart, the more accurate you can be. And when piecing your chart pages together, that's the whole key. Now, I'm not, well, I could do it just to show you a little bit of what I mean. And again, Jan, I'm not meaning to step on your toes. These are just some things that I learned through playing around with this. So this is page 1, okay? What I want to do now is add page 2. So over here is 2 boxes. You press on that. You say add a piece. And now I'm going to pick the next page, okay? So now it's going to ask me to do the same thing, okay? My rows are going to be, and here again, this is the important part. Your number of rows and number of stitches across needs to be right on the money, okay? So we already know the first row of pages is 98 stitches in height. The first page is 80 stitches wide, but the second page is 77 stitches wide. Okay, so now we have that. Now we're going to click on our grid. As you see, all that yellow comes up. I, for some reason, always like to start at the top, and I make this gigantuan so that I can pull this down and put it about right in the middle. Maybe just up a smidge. There we go. Now I'm going to go over to the side, do the same thing, make it gymongous. See, it's about right in the middle. Okay, so we're getting pretty close. Okay, need to go over to this, make it gigantuan, bring this over, make it a little bigger so we can see where that middle is. A little too far, back up. There we go. See how our middles are right on the money? and check that alignment, because sometimes you have to go back and adjust one side or the other to get them perfectly in the middle. So before I hit the next step, I'm going to go down to the bottom and do that one, because we see that that's still off a smidgen. Okay, not by much, but enough that it will mess up your chart if you go to align it. So you want to bring that up about to the middle. Okay, look at that. Perfecto. The bigger you make it, the easier it is to align. And let me tell you, folks, I learned this the hard way, because I had a chart almost all put together. I only had about 4 or 5 pages to add yet, and I did not align them properly, and I did not crop them as closely as I did here, and it messed up the whole thing. I had to start all over again. And I'm not talking just a 4 or 5 page chart. I'm talking like a 70-page chart. So there is no limit to the number. I'm told there is no limit to the number of pages. So this appears to be exactly as we need it. So the next thing I will do is at the top, you see edit or align. Can you see that? Oops, there we go. Edit or align. So what I was doing is editing. Now I'm going to hit, because I have everything where I want it, I'm going to hit align, and it pops my 2 pages together. Okay, just for, it lines them right up. Okay, if it's lined perfect, and you just hit save, and there you go. And now when you go look at that, you can't even tell where your page line was. It's awesome. Now, once you have that first row of pages, it's going to tack on here to the end. And what you're going to have to do is then take that page and position it down here and line up. I work on lining up the every 10th line, but that's all there is to it, and it is just a piece of cake. It's awesomely wonderful, and thank you so much, Jan, for bringing this to the attention of the full coverage world, because it's just fantastic, and I love it, love it, love it, and my heartfelt thanks to you. I can't, Catty, no. I just can't thank you enough, and can't brag enough about how great this program is. And who'd have thunk that a program for knitters would be so great for cross stitching also. It's fantastic. Speaking of knitting, I hope, I also do knit, I also crochet, I also do hardanger embroidery, I also know how to tat just a little bit. So I'm hoping that once my hand is all back to normal and healed, my pretty purple cast, I will be able to pull out some knitting again, because I had just, before this got really bad, it's been bad for a long time. This was a long time coming. I was knitting some socks, and I have some started. I had just bought a whole bunch of sock yarn, and I hate to see that go to waste. So I'm going to hopefully be able to get back to some sock knitting, and do some other things other than cross stitch right now. Well, my first love is cross stitch. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But hopefully once this hand is better, I'll be able to do some other things again that I haven't been able to do for a while. So with that, guys, well, I rambled on for 40 minutes. Didn't show you too much stitching. I can only do it in little spurts, to be honest with you, because it gets, trying to hold that needle threader between these two fingers pulls on this part of my hand, and it gets tired really fast. So I stitch in short periods of time to give this a rest, because it does pull and it does get really tired quickly, but that's to be expected. So with that, I'm going to say once again, thank you to all of you who have come to visit me today. If you have been following me, thanks so much for coming back and continuing to watch my videos. I truly, really appreciate it. And for those of you that are new, and holy smokes, there's been a lot of new ones that have entered, welcome. And I am so, so very glad that you're joining us. And hopefully you're getting something out of these videos, that you've learned some new things. If you go back and watch my older videos, there's a lot of tips and a lot of tricks, and it also shows the progression of my cross stitch journey, how I got to the way I am stitching today. And there's been trials and errors, and along the way if you watch and find that along my journey there may be a method or something that works best for you. Because my whole thought and the reason I do this is to make a difference and to hopefully make your stitching easier for you. We all started somewhere. We all progressed through trial and error and have come up with ways that work for us. So I hope some of the things that I do can make a difference in some of the things that you do and in the way you stitch. So to all the new people, welcome. I am so, so glad that you have joined us, and I appreciate and love each and every one of you. And as Jan always says, give love to get love. My new ending is going to be, kindness is contagious. Please pass it on. So until next time, my friends, I will bid you adieu. Bye-bye.